sci-fi movie that stars a wrestler that's going to get a remake, and I'm actually going to say that this is a good thing. Welcome to SciTrek, your sci-fi TV and movie channel. So, when I saw They Live for the first time, I was maybe 13 or 14, and it was on one of the smaller channels, like Channel 4 or something, here in the UK at like 10 or 11 o'clock at night. And it blew my fragile little mind. I was already a fan of Rowdy Roddy Piper, so I started watching this film, and I didn't have a bloody clue what it was about. But Rowdy Roddy Piper was in it, being Rowdy Roddy Piper, and there was some aliens in it, and there was some very cool sunglasses.
I have come here to chew bubblegum and kick ass. And I'm all out of bubblegum.
Now, we use the word cult classic quite freely sometimes. We throw that term around. But They Live by John Carpenter is a proper cult classic. Now, John Carpenter made a couple of these movies. John Carpenter's Vampires with James Woods is genuinely one of the greatest vampire movies ever made. It is phenomenally stupid, but its glorious in its complete stupidity. It works on almost every level, and so does They Live.
Oh. You see, I take these glasses off. She looks like a regular person, doesn't she, huh? Put them back on, formaldehyde face. That's what we got.
That's enough.
Now, we have had a few false starts with getting a remake. I've had to do a list. So, 2010, John Carpenter was down for developing a new remake. A year later, Matt Reeves was put down as direct. That then changed tact, and they were going to move away from the satirical element of They Live and move back towards the actual sort of tone of the original short story that it was based on. And then again in 2015, there was talk about a remake, and then again in 2018, all of which was going to be connected with John Carpenter. Now, a few months ago, Giant Freaking Robot came out with this story saying that we were going to get a remake, and everybody ignored them completely, as you should, with everything that Giant Freaking Robot says. But then, just a few days ago, we got news that actually, yes, this might be happening, and my interest was piqued.
All right, suppose we settle down. That's far enough. Where'd you get those glasses?
Tooth fairy.
I'll bet.
You got him.
Sandy King is a producer that actually worked on the original They Live movie. She was a script supervisor. She's a producer of many movies. She's John Carpenter's wife. So, they have a pretty good working relationship. And recently, in an interview, she was being asked about They Live. She was saying that this is a story that is more relevant today than probably it ever has been. And she was asked, does that mean we're going to be getting a new version of this? Her answer, there might be. So I do as I always do and sent the feelers out to the sources that I get to speak to. I wondered, had anybody heard anything about the They Live remake? Was it going to be a complete remake of the movie? Maybe a continuation? Well, I did get an answer. But before we talk about that, let's talk about the actual original. So, it's not the greatest acting in the world. Let's kick that straight off. Rowdy Roddy Piper was a wrestler with a lot of problems in his personal life, and he died way too young. I did enjoy WWE when I was a kid, WWF back then. I liked the pandas fighting. There were no pandas fighting. I loved the wrestling when I was a kid. I actually loved the wrestling right up until probably my early 30s. I loved Triple H. I loved The Rock. I loved all of these actors. I love just how big it is and how stupid it is. Rowdy Roddy Piper, though, when I first started watching wrestling, him and the British Bulldog were probably my favourite wrestlers.
Standing ovation here for Rowdy Roddy.
In this movie, John Carpenter very quickly realized that, look, this guy, he can act one way. He can be Rowdy Roddy Piper. So let's just write him as Rowdy Roddy Piper. And to be honest, it worked beautifully, right up to the final scene when the alien kills Nada, the character's name, which again, John Carpenter is a freaking genius. You have this homeless guy that is going to unveil this conspiracy. And what do you call him? Nada. Nothing. It's genius. Right up to the final scene where the aliens murder Nada and he just flicks him the bird. It's a Rowdy Roddy Piper thing to do, goddammit. So why is the movie relevant? Why does it deserve a remake? Well, the film, if you haven't seen it, is basically about a bunch of aliens that have invaded the Earth and took over humans. They look like us, like many movies before, and they're using social media and the wider media to send a signal to make us all basically compliant. This is a conspiracy theorist's wet dream. And to be honest, a lot of the conspiracy theories out there nowadays are all about governments, big governments, trying to subdue us, the people, and make us weak and feeble and to do as we're told. The illusion of freedom is, in lots of ways, actually literally an illusion, but is the core of many a conspiracy theories website. And then, of course, this complete nobody gets a magic pair of sunglasses that lets him see the villains. He can see the aliens as they really are. In today's world, I actually think that They Live movie, because of the popularity of many of these conspiracy theories, and to be honest, the reality that we are very obsessed with and really addicted to our social media, is even more real than it was in the 80s when this film was made. In fact, this film has terrifyingly aged well when you really consider the social media addiction we today live with, particularly our children who have actually been brought up on their social media platforms. So that is why I think this film not only deserves a remake, but I'm absolutely certain it's getting one. Why am I so certain? Because my sources have told me it is. So apparently this is where we're at right now. So John Carpenter, with Sandy King as producing, is working with Universal NBC towards a remake of the original movie. This will not be a continuation, it will be a remake. Also, it will not be a movie, it will be a series. I'm being told the buzz around NBC at the moment is that this will be very much a sort of violent, very sort of like, think of like The Boys type of TV series. It will very much feed into the humor. It will very much feed into the conspiracy theory. It'll be very satirical, and it will really be an on-the-nose social commentary and the realities of social media today. So what are we waiting for? Well, basically, they need the strikes to end so they can sign an actor on. I'm being told that they have a director and they have a rough script for the first couple of episodes, or at very least, a very rough idea how a 10-episode series for a streaming platform might go. They really just need to get the casting of Nada. Now, apparently, they do have a few ideas. They're even looking at current wrestlers to take on the part again. They want somebody that feels a bit like Rowdy Roddy Piper. Now, I'm told they have an idea on who that will be, but I'm sorry, I can't give you a name because I just don't know it. But at the end of the day, that person can't sign up while the strike is on. And they do not want to move forwards until they get that casting right. So, if they get the casting of Nada correct, and we get somebody that is actually as charismatic and as big in personality as Rowdy Roddy Piper was, then we could get something very, very cool here, guys. A modern, instant cult classic? Well, only if they get it right, because this is one of those films that really they have to get right. There's not going to be any middle ground on this one. It's either going to be gloriously brilliant like the original, or it's going to be awful, terrible, poke yourself in the eyeballs rather than watch another moment bad. And I really don't see any wiggle room in between. So let's just hope that they can do this justice. The original is still a great movie. It still holds up, and if you've never seen it, why not? And if they do a remake, I will be very, very interested to see how they do it. But guys, get into the comments and tell me what you think. Is this a nightmare? Is this just one more remake? Just a remake too far, damn it. Or actually, is this a remake that kind of makes sense considering the changes in our culture and society? Is this a storyline that, as I say, really fits today better than maybe it did in 1988 when this film was first made? I think it does. But what do you think? Get into the comments and tell me. If you are new to the channel, don't forget to like, subscribe, hit the bell notification, and do all those buttony things. Also, go over to patreon.com/SciTrek, which is our Patreon website where most of our new videos appear first. You get to see them before everybody else, and without the adverts. For a small contribution each month that really supports the channel, you even get a free gift. Also, go to SciTrek.co.uk, which is our dedicated website, where we do articles based on most of our stories, and we try to add a little bit more detail for you to digest. As always, please stay safe, and I'll see you next time.